Hello and welcome. This is going to be a quick tutorial on how to set up the playtesting. I'll have another video for how to actually play the game for those who haven't read how to play. But this is just going to be quick. So you're reading this. It's going to have more words than just this. But if you want to set up a game, click on this and it'll create a room for you. If you're not registered, you may have to log in. But I think you can just click like continue as guest. Maybe I can open it in an incognito window and see what's up. Yeah, there we go. Play as guest. So I want to be like Caleb, play as guest. So you don't even have to make an account if you don't want to. So I'm the host and there's a vacant seat. So you can invite your friends. So if you're playing in the Discord, you could just post this link in the Discord and then someone will join. For the sake of discussion, I'm just going to make a new demo with myself. So I'm going to join this vacant seat here. So now we're both here and the game is ready to go. So you'll see this from your host thing. I'm going to start the game because we're both ready. And your friend is going to click ready as well. And you'll get into the game once it loads up. Alright, so we're in the game now. It tends to show this tutorial because you logged in as a guest and stuff. You can go through, it tells you what all the controls are and stuff. Very useful. I'll kind of tell you what they are, so you can just close out of the tutorial if you want. And this is the game. I don't know why it loads into this window, but if you want to change the view, you can right click and drag and stuff looks a lot clearer. Sometimes when you load the game, it just looks really blurry like this. Like if we pull a card here, for whatever reason, it's not like the card is quite blurry. So I found that if you refresh the game, it can help with that quite a bit. So yeah, I went ahead and refreshed the game, and now, I mean, you can very clearly read the card. So I'm still figuring out why that is, like why does that happen? If you have any ideas, I'd love to know. But that's one kind of known problem is that happens. Refreshing the game a couple of times tends to fix it. I don't know what the issue is. You can go to full screen by clicking that thing on the top left. And now you're in the game. So just a few things to note. These are life totals. If you click on them and right click, you can modify them by a set amount. And that's true for pretty much anything in the game. If you right click, it'll like tell you what to do. Also an easier way is just click on it and then scroll while you're still on it to change your life total that way. So that you can keep track of your life that way. This hand is your opponent. I don't know if you remember, but I opened a window over here. So this is the other browser window. And if I move the hand, more towards the blue thing, or I guess I have to go away to switch windows, but now the hand's down here. So you can see what your opponent's doing. You can gesture towards stuff. There's a chat window. If you want to just say like, hello, quite loud, but you can like dim it or whatever. If you want to chat with your opponent, I would recommend using voice chat for this most likely, which you can do through Discord. They have their own thing, but I would just recommend using Discord because we know everybody. Okay, so there's the life totals. These are the cards. So when you start the game, you're going to want 2 historic cards. There's drawing and taking. You're going to draw 2 historic cards at the beginning of the game. And drawing puts them into your hand. So your hand kind of floats around over here. You can hide it with H and bring it back with H. You can also see how many cards are in your hand. Over here, you can see how many cards are in your opponent's hand. So they have 0. When I go into their view and I take 2 for them, or draw 2, sorry, they get 2 cards in hand. And then I go back to my original view. Now my opponent has 2 cards in hand. So that settles that. This is the pile of regular Algomancy cards. These are all your tokens and resources. And then these are your dice. To take a dice, you just drag something out of here to use for like +1/+1 counters or whatever. The convention I'm using is the D8s are permanent buffs and the D6s are temporary buffs. So D8s would be equivalent to like a +1/+1 counter in Magic. D6s are kind of like target creature gets +X/+X. You would use this to represent, if they get a +5/+5, you could put this on the creature and then at the end of turn get rid of it. It's not super necessary for 2-player games, but it can be helpful in more complicated games. So there's that. To start the drafting, you see these big blue zone here in the red zone. I'm on the blue team, so this is my drafting zone. And you can see when my hand is elsewhere, it's normal. When I hover over the zone, there's this no I symbol. I think I can flip it too to just make it regular. You can flip with F. So you want this on this side. If you accidentally flip it, just flip it back over. And the way we're doing it right now is you right click the deck and you're going to take however many cards we're doing in the pack. Right now I'm testing with 10, but that is likely to change. So you can take 10 cards. It's going to play them out like that. To select a group of cards, you hit shift and then drag. So we've selected all the cards and we can move them around. While you're doing this, you can press F to flip them. Is the most convenient way I've been finding to do it. And then you put them in your draft zone. To you, it looks like nothing has changed, but your opponent won't be able to see anything that happens in here. For example, if I put like a token over here, I can see it. If I put it inside my opponent's red zone, I can't see it because that's their draft zone. So this is a place for hidden information, basically. So yeah, this would be like our sample pack. I'll put it over here so you can see everything better. And you would go through and draft the pack. You know, you read the cards or whatever. To take a card, or if it's blurry for you for some reason, you can hit space to view the cards full screen as well. So that is quite helpful. That works for anything, or just double click them to read a card big. So, you know, we're not really actually playing, but to draft a card, you take it and drag it to the bottom of the screen. Sometimes if you're not full screen, there's a glitch where if you go too far down, it doesn't work. But in full screen, it just works at the bottom of the screen. So, you know, if I take those two, whatever, if you're using the ability of historic cards or void cards, where you swap them for cards in the pack, you know, you would put these two down back into the pack. And then you would take whatever resources you wanted for turn. I'll just take these as an example. So that would be drafting. And then once you're done drafting, I would take these, flip them face down, and put them over here. Right now, the back size are different. We'll work on that, but I don't think it matters too much if your opponent knows. This is just for figuring out the game. And we'll just say it's public information that they know whether or not you swapped for cards. Because I think it should be like revealed, like, hey, I'm doing this. So that would be the draft. Your opponent would do the same. So we can kind of simulate that just by taking 10 and putting it by them over there somewhere. So that's how you do that. And then to play cards, you place them down. If you want to play multiple cards, you can click, you know, two at once. And then when you drag, they both go. So whatever cards you click and then drag work. To tap cards, you can click on them and hit E to tap to the right, or Q to the tap to the left. So if you hit E and then Q, you tap and untap, or you can just go all the way around if you're like me, feeling lazy. To select a bunch, again, you hold shift. So if you wanted to, like, this isn't a creature. I need a creature as an example. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but all right, Servant of the Flame, sure. So if you have these two and you wanted to attack with them, you can shift click them and then hit E, and they'll both be tapped. And then you can move them relatively. So, you know, if you're making your formation or whatever, and then your opponent, this is not a creature. Are there no more creatures? There's a creature. So your opponent can block with something. When they die, you could just drag them into the discard. And again, you can flip them face up if you want to or not. And that's mostly how you play the game. Common things that I see come up, flower tokens are just kind of a catch-all token. If you're creating a creature that's not necessarily a flower, you can just flip it face down and then use a +1/+1 counter. And when you move a card with counters on it, all the counters move. And when you tap a card with counters on it, the counters tap alongside it. So that's actually pretty convenient. Taking damage, I think I explained this before, but you can, you know, if I took 5 damage here, down to 25 life, not a big deal. You can play cards in and out of the graveyard. And to put cards back into the drafting pool, or to stack cards in general, actually, this is pretty useful. So if you have a card you want to put a pile on, and you have a selected cards, when you hover over it, I don't know if you can see it has like this orange hue. When I've hovered over it for long enough, that'll stack the cards. And then this stack acts just like your deck. You know, I can draw cards from it. You know, I can right click and take. But if you click it and it's highlighted, now you can move the stack as a unit. You can flip it face down or whatever. We remember there were some historic cards in here. We're just going to kind of ignore that for now. But if you want to put them back into the draft pool, you hover over any stack you're trying to put them in until it turns orange. And then you can right click and hit shuffle. So now we've just kind of shuffled cards back into the draft pool. So there are some things that say like return target creature in the draft pool, you would just take it, put it on top, let it go, shuffle. Try not to let historic cards get in there. That kind of becomes a headache like I just did, but it happens. Otherwise, I think that's pretty much the game. If you have any questions, let me know in the Discord. I'm very interested. I'm going to be making a ton of changes to this game as we're playtesting. Changing arts, increasing the cards, fixing things. So keep your eyes peeled as far as the specifics of the card game. But this is just basics of how to playtest, and just look down in the blog post or check later on. I'll make a video explaining how to play the game more clearly. Thank you for watching, and I really look forward to seeing you playtesting. I hope we can make this game awesome. See you then.